What's up, y'all? Welcome to my channel, Vibing with Quan Yen. I got the opportunity to stay in 9 different Airbnbs in Montego Bay and review them. If you want to see these places, go check out my Airbnb Hopping playlist and you can see them all for yourself. So in this video, I want to rank all of the Airbnb stays from worst to best. Starting with the worst, my least favorite was Martin's Mansion. It was a glorified apartment, okay? But to start on a positive note, let me tell you the things I did like about this stay. The one thing that I could say I liked about this stay was the neighborhood that I was in. Coral Gardens is really beautiful. A lot of people retire in that neighborhood. There's a lot of wealthy people in that neighborhood. Really big houses. I remember when I was walking to go catch a taxi, you could catch views of the sea, and it was just a really beautiful neighborhood. Really great vibes getting out of the house, okay? But apart from that, I did not like this place much at all. When I first walked in, I was greeted by a scent, which most places have a little scent, their own little unique scent, because they're, you know, closed up until somebody comes and stays. I get that, but it does turn me off because as a host, you can do things about that.
There's so many different ways that you could put a nice fragrance in your place, and that one little thing could boost a person's experience or perception of your place. So keep that in mind if you're an Airbnb host watching this, if you're one of the hosts who I stayed at their place. I'm about to be really blunt about my experience, but don't take it to heart. Just take the advice and improve.
The place didn't have pots or pans, y'all. There were no pots and pans and utensils. This nice ass 6-aisle stove with no pots or pans to cook on the stove. It was beyond me. This is a small thing, but a lot of these Airbnbs didn't have a trash can. I'm like, where do you expect me to dispose of my trash? I mean, lucky for me, I had been in Jamaica for months. I had a ton of stuff. So I was traveling to each one of these Airbnbs with a house, with like already. I had my trash bags, my soap, my bleach, everything. But if I was just a regular person coming to Jamaica to spend a week, I would have been really disappointed to see that I didn't have any like dish soap, any pots or pans, and it just wasn't, it didn't feel like a home away from home. It felt like someone had an extra apartment unit, threw a bed in there, put some sheets on the bed, and was like, hey, you can stay here. Okay, so I'm here editing, and I'm realizing, 1, this video is entirely too long, and 2, I'm being incredibly redundant because I talked about all the things I liked and didn't like about each property in their own separate reviews. So if you want all of the details, go check out that playlist. But going forward, I'm just going to mention one thing I liked and one thing I didn't like about each. Number 8 was Sade's place. This one was in Freeport, and it was in a place called Sea Wind by the Bay. That was the name of the place. I would say the positive is that Sade was very receptive to our complaints, and she gave us a full refund, and she even let us spend the night because it was very late by the time we contacted her with our complaints. And you know, she was just understanding of the fact that we probably wouldn't be able to get into another place at that time. So I do appreciate Sade, and I don't want this to sound like I'm dragging you, Sade, if you happen to watch this, but it just wasn't clean enough for me. There were stains on the bed, on the sheets. There were stains on the actual pillow, not the pillowcase. And I get stuff happens. You have guests, they make a mess. But me as a host, I'm gonna replace stuff. I'm not gonna have people coming to my house and sleeping on a dingy pillow. Sade, I love you, girl. Because I really did appreciate that full refund. But that, you need to replace that pillow, baby. Okay, we're gonna move on to number 7. Number 7 is this place out in Vogue, honey. We said we're gonna start with the positive stuff, right? All right, the positive thing, the place was beautiful. That's the positive thing. It was beautiful. It was to the point where when the host left, I had to sit down and pray and thank God, because I felt like I was living in some luxury. And you know, I got the experience. It was one of the first really nice places that I stayed in during my my tour of Airbnbs. So I really loved the place. The bathroom was beautiful, and I never got a good clear shot of it. I was just enjoying being in the space. I wasn't that pressed about documenting everything yet. but that bathroom was everything. The one thing I hated most about this place, the maintenance man. The maintenance man had the nerve to take pictures of me without me knowing. And when I noticed and asked him to stop, he smiled, shook his head yes. And you know what he did? He just moved to the other side of the parking lot to get a different vantage point of me, like I wasn't gonna notice. So that was the thing I liked least about this place. Let's move on to number 6. Albion. This was the second of 2 stays that I did in the same neighborhood. So this is the second Albion stay. It was a 1-bedroom. And honey, okay, so we're gonna start with the positive. I loved the host. She was very nice. I think she was the only host. Oh, actually the actual host was overseas, but the woman that lives there, I think of her more of the host. She was very nice. She was the only host, I'm gonna call her the host, that I actually talked to and made conversation with. And I'm a very introverted person. I don't really like talking to people that much. Oh, another thing, she let me do people's lashes. Okay, I was doing my little lash thing at her place. Got to get some practice at her place. I really appreciate her. She let me do her lashes, actually. So, I feel a little bad having to criticize her place because I actually really liked her. But I do have a little critique. Okay, so the couch smelled funny. Like, it had that mildew smell, and it was really strong, really strong. We'll move on to the next place. So before I got to this Albion stay, the 1-bedroom, I stayed in a studio. This was my very first Airbnb stay in Jamaica. I stayed with my dad for about 5 to 6 months, and then I moved into this, I left and stayed in this Airbnb, and it was my first breath of independence in Jamaica. Because, you know, I left home and I went to Jamaica, but it was just to go to my father's house. So I didn't feel like I was, you know, taking this crazy leap. You know, I was going to my father's house to figure out this Airbnb venture. So it just didn't feel like that adventurous and bold to me. But when I actually left and got into my first Airbnb and it was like, I'm all by myself out here, that's when it really hit. And in fact, you can go and see my first YouTube videos when I said I moved to Jamaica. Like, it really hit. Like, I'm out here. Okay, so this studio, let's talk about the positives. The yard was beautiful. They had so many plants. They had bamboo, a big giant tree. This was the first place that I seen a ton of hummingbirds. Like, I would see them sometimes at my dad's place, but I seen a whole bunch staying at this place, and I love hummingbirds. It's so beautiful. I like the neighborhood. You could hear kids playing outside. It wasn't so quiet. Being in a quiet neighborhood gives me the heebie-jeebies. I'm used to noise. I'm from the hood. I'm used to hearing stuff outside, okay? But I felt very comfortable in this place, very comfortable. The person who drove, again, the host was out of the country, but the person he put me in contact with, Dexter, who became a good friend, a good ally, and my permanent driver, he was the one who picked me up from my dad's house, brought me to the place, and he would come help me with, literally, he was the biggest help, okay? If it wasn't for me staying at this place, and I hope that the host is watching this, because I know him and Dexter ended up having some problems. And I need you to know that Dexter is the bomb, okay? And if it wasn't for Dexter, I don't know how I would have gone on to these other Airbnbs with all of this stuff in my 3-year-old. Thank you, Dexter. There was no TV. Okay, there was a TV. It was on the outside though. Like, there was this little veranda porch thing on the outside of the studio apartment, and that's where the TV was. But there was no cable. It wasn't a smart TV with like Netflix or anything. So I don't even know why the TV is there, because as far as I know, the only thing you can watch on it is a gray screen. All right, that's the first 5. These are places. Actually, I probably, if I was low on cash and I just had to be in Jamaica, I would do that studio again. But the next 4 are places that I would love to go back to. I'm kind of wishy-washy with number 4, but number 3, 2, and 1 I would love to go back to. So let's get into number 4. Number 4 was in West Village, which is a gated community. Let me say the good things I liked about it. It's a gated community, so I felt secure, you know. And again, I never felt like I was in danger when I was in Jamaica. Like, I'd walk the streets at night. I actually did get followed one night. That was a little creepy, but I didn't feel scared. I felt like, try it, I will cut you. That's how I felt. Yo, when Vybz Kartel said,
anyway you go, you know say you're safe, car anyway you go, girl, you're bad than your brave.
About what I loved about this place, it was super clean, super clean, squeaky clean. Take off your socks and walk around barefoot clean. I love that. So my problems with this place was, first, it was far from the taxi route. Like, in order to catch a route taxi, you'd have to walk out of the gated community, which would be quite a walk. And then after that, you still have to walk down the road to catch a taxi. So that was too much for a person like me. But, you know, shout out to Dexton, because I didn't go anywhere. This is the thing. I didn't always depend on Dexton. I would, you know, hop in a taxi and go places myself. But it was nice having Dexton. Like, when I want to go grocery shopping, I know I'm going to have a whole bunch of groceries. I don't want to take a taxi for that. So when I stayed at West Village, I did not leave unless Dexton was taking me somewhere, because I didn't want to deal with catching a taxi. Another thing was there was no dryer, so I had to use the clothesline. And the clothesline, the rope that they used was like stripping, and little strings of it was all over my clothes when I took my clothes down. So those are my only complaints. Anyway, let's move on. Number 3, I would go back to in a heartbeat. It was in Freeport, and it was a studio just like Sade's place. My only problem with this place was that there was a broken washer. Okay, so with this place, what was it again? I said Seawind by the Bay. It's a, you know, a gated community, and they have a washer and dryer for the people to come and use. You obviously pay a fee for their washer and dryer. But this particular Airbnb had a washer and dryer inside the unit that you get to just use, but the washer was broken. So that was my only complaint. Number 2 was in Westgate, which I guess is is their Beverly Hills. It's a bunch of big houses, I guess a bunch of rich people. Well, yeah, it seemed like a bunch of rich people out there, because I've seen all these Audis and BMWs and no Lamborghinis, but you know, nice foreign cars going by when I was out there. So the things I liked about this place: the pool, a saltwater pool. I've never been in a saltwater pool. I loved the saltwater pool. It was the aesthetic. It was just aesthetic as fuck. It was beautiful. There was fresh flowers on the bed and the vase. I was like, okay. It was just cute. I liked it. I felt like I was vacationing in Jamaica. Like, this is what vacation in Jamaica should feel like. That's how I felt when I was there. The only reason why it's not number 2 is for these reasons. I mean, it's not number 1. It's for these reasons. 1, it was very hard to catch a taxi out there. Obviously, when you're living among the wealthy, you're not gonna find taxis coming by as often. Then there was a funny smell coming from the AC, like that kind of mildewy smell. It was not as strong as I've smelled it at other places, but it was there, and it did bother me a little bit. And there was, oh, you couldn't have any unregistered guests, which threw a wrench in my plans, because I wanted to have my dad over for Thanksgiving. But like I said, 3, 2, 1, I would go back to in a heartbeat. Number 1, numero uno, was this nice 1-bedroom apartment. It was one of those places where it's like, don't judge the book by its cover, because looking on the outside, nothing about it screams glamorous, but it was really nice on the inside. And I actually didn't have any complaints with this place. It was basically perfect. In fact, in my video that I did, my review, I mentioned that my one complaint was a little discrepancy that I had with the host about pricing. But apart from, once I got there, I was like, honey, I get why it costs the way it does, and I'm really grateful for the discount that I did get, because this place is immaculate. This place had so many amenities, and it was just so comfortable, and it was so convenient, because it was very close to town. I mean, not close to town, it was literally right off of the hip strip. I walked to Doctor's Cave. It was just super convenient. I loved this place. Loved it. Shout out to Seabreeze, because they are also the host of the other Freeport studio that I loved and will go back to in a heartbeat. You guys are doing your damn thing. I'm applauding you. I can't wait to be like you. And that is my review, my ranking of the 9 Airbnb stays in Montego Bay. I will be back. You will see more content like this, so you should definitely subscribe, especially if you made it this far, because you're digging the vibe if you made it this far in the video. So that's it. I'll talk to you later. Peace.